Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Round Table, PRT. And my name is Josh Turner, and everyone calls me Wolf. And my co-host tonight is...
I call Tony. Everyone calls me Tony.
I thought it was Mushu. Now you're changing it to...
Well, no. I call myself Mushu. No one's calling me Mushu here. So everyone calls me Tony here. But, yeah, Mushu, please. Mushu. No, I mean, I do like the name Mushu. I think it's a dragon, and that's as best as I can get.
Man, it's stupid
when it comes to nicknames.
So that's a good one for you.
Yeah.
So
it makes
anyway,
me feel happy.
Okay, makes me feel happy. All right, so tonight let's do the email address. DasWolfman88 at gmail.com. DasWolfman88 at gmail.com. Send us your creepy stories, and we'll talk.
And please also check out our website where you can find artwork. We have a little art tab that you guys have sent in some artwork, and we love having you guys send it in and letting us and we do enjoyed looking at it. We also have our store on there if you want to purchase some merchandise and support the show and also get something out of it. Mm-hmm. We appreciate that.
If you want merchandise, hit me up on my email address, and one of us will respond and give you a link to it. So
it's also in this description. If you don't want anything at all, but you still want to support the show, we do have a PayPal that is also in the description, and we want to make sure that we want to make sure we let people know that you don't have to pay. We're not asking for you to do any of that. We appreciate it if you do, but it's not a necessity to listen to our show. This show is free for everyone to listen to. And we just do it as an option to help us, keep the show.
Yeah, we want to keep it free. So for those who can't afford to, I don't want to have to make like people say, make a membership, whatever. You have to pay for bonus episodes and all that. I don't want to do all that, not at this point anyway.
Yeah,
because then people that can't afford, they won't be able to listen to the show. And the main thing for me is just getting the content out, and information to people.
All our content we make, we want to make sure it's free and accessible for everyone. Unless we don't like the show and it's a bad one, and then it's not going to be released.
Which has happened.
Well, today is a special one. I'm excited about it. I don't know any of the stories. I know the topic. I know that last time, a couple times you've had me pick. This time you picked, and you just told me what we were going to talk about.
Well, actually, I didn't pick, but Nellie did.
Yeah, Nellie. Do. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that she was here. Yeah, she's here anyway.
And so, Nellie, what did you decide?
Yeah.
UFOs and Bigfoot.
UFOs and Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to tell UFO stories and Bigfoot stories, or is there going to be the UFO Bigfoot connection? What are we talking about?
I think there is a connection. So yeah,
to some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of it there may be a connection.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that sounds great. I'm excited about it. Who has a story first? Who's going to start it off?
I got stories for days, but what do you have, Nels?
Well, something that does intrigue me and fascinate me is like the alien abductions and the implant stories. I have several implant stories that are very interesting. The person wants to remain anonymous, so I'm just going to talk about the implants situation and nothing else. This person had woken up with an itch on their side, their hip. And they went into the restroom to look at it, and they had pulled their pants down enough to expose it, and there was a black spot on their skin. And the person was scratching at it and trying to find out what it was, because it was never there before. And they took some kind of like tool, like they had the face tools in there for like blackheads or whatever, and had punctured it. And when they squeezed the skin, this black material came out, and they started to pull it, and it was thread. It was like threading. And they pulled it out, and one piece was about maybe almost 2 feet long. And they said that they were scared. It freaked them out. They tried to cut it, and they couldn't cut it. They tried to burn it, and they couldn't burn it.
They tried to cut it with a
pair of scissors in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh!
And tried to burn it. There was matches in the bathroom, and nothing could do anything to this black threading. And they had pulled out 3 pieces. When this person couldn't do anything with it, they didn't know. They couldn't figure it out. And so they just flushed it down the toilet, threw them in the toilet and flushed it.
When you say 3 pieces, do you mean like they pulled 3 separate 2 feet in things?
No, the longest one was almost 2 feet.
Okay, but
and then but there was three strings. Let's just put that way.
In this one little like area.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, sorry. Let me get this straight. And was that the only thing that happened to this particular person? Or okay,
this person has several incidences with implantation, whatever you want to call it. That one. And this person was sleeping. This was, I'd say, probably a year after that incident had happened. They had woken up because their finger was burning very badly. And they looked, and there was a black dot under their skin.
Okay, and as far as you know, not to interrupt, but I have to ask this question.
Yes.
As far as you know, this person has not been abducted. Have they been abducted? Did they tell you that they have been abducted?
They have no recollection of ever being abducted.
So they don't know what this is?
No, they don't.
So, but they're assuming that it's an abduction type?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Is this before or after the first one, after they found the first, they pulled the strings out?
Well, the person, let's just call this person Claire. Claire had told me that the strings in her hip, she thought were placed there. She's raised religious. She thought that they were initially placed there from an entity trying to invade her body. She was very young when this happened, so that's what she thought. She thought that, and then when she was sleeping, she was having a dream with the one in her finger. And she actually woke up to the burning sensation in her finger and noticed a black spot there. She had told somebody, elder, and they said, just leave it alone, don't ever mess with it. And don't speak of it. An
elder, like from a church?
No, a family member. So they just said, no, never speak of it. Just don't ever mess with it. And, they...
Yeah, because just like cancer, it'll just go away.
Right? So she said, 20 years later or so, she was sitting there looking at her finger, and she was like, what is this? And she remembered that it just came out of nowhere, and she remembered waking up with it burning, and it bothered her ever since. So she said, you know what, just forget it. She's going to take it out. So she said she got a razor, and she cut, because it was close to the surface of the skin, So she cut it open, and she exposed it, and she could see that it was this black thing. So she took a needle and she put it up underneath the implant, but that she didn't know if it was an implant or not. She just, whatever it was, she wanted it out of her. And she tried to pry it up, and she said she literally felt it pulling itself back into her finger. She started to panic and realized this thing is just not, it's not just something, it's alive. So she started frantically trying to wedge it, keep that needle wedged in between her flesh and the object, and trying to pry it up. And every time she pulled harder, it would pull itself back into her finger harder. And then she was without thinking, just reaction, she was going to pull the needle out and try to squeeze to get it to pop. Maybe she could pop it up. When she did that, it pulled itself deeper into her finger. So she could hit it and scratch it with the tip of the needle, but it just went in. And she was like, no, never mind, forget it. I'll just see if I can wait, let it heal. And when it comes back up, I'll try it again. And this time, I won't. She wouldn't let it get away from her. Well, when it healed, the black spot was gone. So I imagine that it went deeper into her finger. So it's still in her body. And it's whatever it is alive. Yeah, it's alarming.
Yeah, that's more than alarming. She has some kind of secret weapon in her finger she may not know.
So she's an X-Men.
Basically, she could point her finger like a gun, and if she says bang in her mind, then it shoots a bullet out. You never know. I think that if you ever meet Claire again, tell her to do it and see if she could, have...
I don't think that she would be...
Okay.
Claire,
we're not making fun of Claire.
Though, but,
we're not
just
making
silly.
fun of Claire.
But seriously though, it seems very harrowing to find something in your body and not know what or where it is from, having no recollection of seeing that object or even knowing where that object came from.
The confusion and the fear.
Yeah. And then
the not
especially,
knowing, like, wow.
Like, what did this, whoever it was that told her, like, what did they know to tell you or to tell them to not mess with it, you know?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. I didn't delve any deeper than that. Just wanted to find out about the object. I mean, I'm not heartless, of course, just comforting there, but it's implants are interesting, they're fascinating, and scary at the same time.
Yeah, and it's especially scary for everyone because it doesn't, especially in this situation, it's like you don't even know what you think might be a mole could be something that was put in you, and it's just there. And you have no idea what it is or where it came from.
And then one day you start squeezing that mole and it pops out like a little black seed and it turns out it's just a blackhead.
This is a very gross subject. But anyways, let's return back to...
But here's the thing about that. If anybody has ever had any experience with these things, I haven't had a ton of experience with it, but I have had some. And I will tell you what I know. I have a family member who had one that was up their nasal cavity. And Nellie, you know about this.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid, it was my cousin. And I was playing with her. She's older than me. And we were playing some kind of game or something. And I think it was like where you home base or something like that, where you slap each other or whatever, where you try to, well, like I said, they're older than me. And my sisters like to slap me. Just for the fun of it, because it's like, oh, there you are, tag, you're it, and it was a slap, and you have a red mark on your back for 2 days. So yeah, I just always thought that's how you played it. So I go to school and I play it, and I get in trouble for slapping some kid. But it was like one of those games where you try to get to home base, and once you touch it, you're safe. But then so they got to tag somebody, and then they become the person or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a intense form of tag.
Yeah, and so we were playing that, and I slapped one of my female cousins on the bridge of the nose on accident because I had been taught to play rough, even though, because I was the youngest and I got slapped and hit and whatever. And so, and I was also, like, most of my cousins were older than me too. I only had like 2 or 3 on that side of the family that were younger than me. And so one of them, this was on my mom's side, I slapped her on the nose, and her nose began to bleed profusely. And this weird looking like BB thing, she went inside the house and like the blood was coming out of her nose. And I thought, I didn't tag her that hard. It didn't really seem, and my mom wasn't home, thank goodness, to beat me into oblivion, or I wouldn't be here to tell the story. But I go inside, and my sister was with her, and she was trying to help her like blow her nose, because she kept saying she felt like something was inside there. And then this BB thing falls out and rolls around in the sink. I'll never forget it. And it was weird. And then my cousin, one of my guy cousins, male cousins, whatever, he just reaches in and tries to grab it.
As a young boy does.
Yeah. Well, he's about a year or two older than me, but he tries to grab it and it moves away from him. Like, I remember this. It like rolled away from him, and everybody was just sitting there in shock. And this particular female cousin, whatever, doesn't have a recollection of this. But I think my sister does. I'd have to ask. I'd have to go back and ask them. But anyways, this BB looking thing like rolled away from, and then when we went to go pick it up, like it kept moving around. We couldn't pick it up. And I remember like at one point we finally got it into like a little one of those little boxes that you give like as a gift, to, like earrings or something.
Like a jewelry,
like a little small jewelry box, yeah. And we put one in, and put it in there. We got it in there. I don't know how. When I went to go look for something, they had already figured out a way to get it, and they put it in there. Well, at one point, I went to go and mess with it, and it was no longer rolling away or moving away. It began to follow, and when I put my finger on the table, it began to roll toward my finger. It was very weird. I was like 8 years old. I remember this. And I took like a pair of tweezers, and when I went toward it with the tweezers, then it rolled away. My mom eventually took it away from us and put it like in a drawer or something. I don't remember exactly what happened because we were fighting over it because we all wanted to play with it. And it was like, my mom's like, it's just a nasty BB that was up her nose, like, and she got accused of sticking that up her nose, but it was big. It was like it was like twice the size of one of the BBs I had for my BB gun. And it was shiny. It was very shiny. And you've heard
silver or copper looking?
Silver. You've heard the story. I mean, but for the people at home, they haven't. Yeah. It was silver, shiny.
I actually never asked for the color.
Really? Well, that's stupid on your part. But anyway, so this BB ends up being like some sort of like almost like a possessed object. Like it kept moving around, and my cousin's really weird that they remember it, but the one that it happened to doesn't really remember it. She just remembers getting a nosebleed, and then that was it. And then she went to sleep for like several hours. And my mom came home and was like watching, keeping an eye on her because she was afraid that something, And I got my butt tore up because I can tell you right now, folks, I did not hit her that hard. I wasn't trying to. I just reached out to tag, and my finger grazed the top of her nose. And next thing you know, she's bleeding. Everybody at home's going like, "Yeah, right. Sure, you didn't."
Well, maybe it was just right timing. Maybe it was just moving in that area when you hit her.
That's what I'm thinking. That like some sort of excuse for me. But anyways, like something happened that wasn't my fault somehow, some way. But this thing, though, long story short, it moved around and then eventually it disappeared. So I snuck into my mom's sewing room because I remember that house, we just remodeled it, and my mom had a little sewing room or whatever. So I went into that room, which I was never allowed to because I'd always try to go in there and play and mess with the fabrics and stuff and throw stuff around. I don't say throw stuff around. It sounds like I'm a terrible kid, but I was. But anyway, I went in there to look for this object, and when I found the place where it was supposed to be, it was gone. The box and everything. So I figured my mom had moved it. So I asked my mom about it. She said, don't worry about it. Well, I went, and the other place I knew that she hid stuff, which was the desk drawer in my parents' room in the master bedroom. And I found the box, but the little BB thing was gone. And my sister, nobody ever knew what happened to it. None of us.
Maybe it got into one of your parents.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
Thanks.
Maybe
Thanks
it's in my head now. No, I don't know what happened to it.
Maybe
we don't
they
know.
Came back for it.
Who knows? Maybe it went back to the Pleiades or wherever the heck it came from. If it's, I don't know. But anyway, that's a weird story. That's a very weird, creepy story that happened when I was a kid. But in that particular house, there were some other stuff that happened. Like my one sister recently had a surgery, and remember we went to go visit her at the Baylor Scott and White. And she brought up that house, that creepy house, the big 2-story house. But in that house, there was a lot of weird stuff that happened there. There was another incident that happened with a raisin. But that's for another time, another story, I guess. I don't know what it was, but I'll say this. It's not the only example I have of implants. I was dating this girl, and she had some big implants. And I'm kidding, folks. I'm kidding. No, but she really did.
Yeah, she had some huge feet. I don't know why
her feet were huge. She wanted to be Bigfoot, so that's what they did. They gave her, Bigfoot.
Amazing what technology can do. Yeah.
What would it be called? The podiatrist. She went to see the podiatrist, and he's like, "I can make you a Bigfoot, no problem." So, anyways, she tromps around the Northwest, just fooling everybody now. But no, seriously, what we did was we were talking about this house or whatever, and my sister brought up the fact that it was creepy and a lot of weird stuff happened there. Well, our neighbors, their dad, and at that time it was kind of weird, it was unusual. It was a small town, but we lived out in the country, out of this small town, and I recently took Nellie and Anthony. We found that old house. I'd lost the track of where it was, and we finally found it. Through the teamwork of my dad and my sister, all three of our stupid selves, we eventually on the phone figured out where it was. So I took everybody out there and I showed you, and it is a creepy looking place. And it's out in the middle of nowhere. And so it's a big 2-story house in the middle of nowhere. And there was a neighbor that we had. Now there's a lot more it's grown up now more out there. There's more people out there now. Mm-hmm. And he was like you would say a survivalist kind of guy. And like I said, I was 8 or 9. And he was always talking about these UFOs that he would see at night. And his stepson would come over and play with me sometimes when we were about the same age. And he was pretty much the only friend I had out there. And he would come out and he would play and he would talk to me about UFOs. And as a little kid, that was probably my first experience or ever even having, any kind of experience with UFOs. Didn't know much about the subject, but he claimed that him and his stepdad and his stepsisters, would be outside on the deck and that they would see these UFOs moving around. Just and so that's weird that in that house, that's where my cousin, that's where that happened. But I don't know what to make of that. If there's the correlation there, if just what that was and why it was, I have no idea. But there is another story I have about implants. I have an ex-girlfriend, and I have a few, and unfortunately, but one in particular had she believed that she had been abducted, and she lived up in Pennsylvania, and she told me that, but while we were together, the abductions didn't take place. Like supposedly it didn't happen. It supposedly didn't happen. It had stopped or whatever. I don't know the whole story. I never thought much of it, She had just mentioned it in passing, and then when I prompted her to talk to me about it, she really wasn't into talking about it. And then one day, she imbibed a little bit and had a little bit of drink, and I pried the information out of her and said, I'm going to use this for my future show, and I got it out of her. So she told me the story. When she was a kid, they lived on a farmhouse out in Pennsylvania, middle of nowhere. And she didn't have anybody to play with, whatever. And she was staring up at the sky, and something appeared like a ball, like a round spherical ball. From what I remember her telling me, it was like a silver ball, whatever. Came down, and then she woke up and she was in the barn. And then several hours had passed. And then after that, she started getting real severe headaches. And eventually one day she went to school with a cold because she kept getting sinus infections. And she went to school with a cold / sinus infection, whatever. She blew her nose, and in class, this BB fell out. Now, that's weird because my cousin had that happen at our house. So I thought that is very strange. That's odd. And so I told her, I was like, I'm going to stop you right there. I was like, I remember this incident with the BB when I was a kid. I haven't had a lot of like UFO alien, like any kind of experiences or whatever. I have recently had a couple things weird. I'll get into that in a minute, which is what prompted us to talk about doing this show. Right, honey?
Mm-hmm.
And so this particular female that I was with, she claimed that the headaches and all that started after the seeing the round thing in the sky, whatever. It's kind of odd too. Whenever Lance Hoyt was on the show, he's a pro wrestler. Anybody knows WWE, New World Japan. He's a famous wrestler. His story, he talked about a UFO that he saw in Hearn, Texas. And when he described it, it kind of sounded similar to what this particular person that I used to go out with, that she told me about her UFO that she saw. And what's weird is that it's almost like it kind of looks like a cross between what he saw and what I recently saw. Now, I didn't have any missing time or anything like that. Nothing like that happened to me. And as far as I know, I don't have any BBs in my body. But it did seem odd that, like, when we started to talk about the whole the BB thing, it just made me think about that, because I personally am of the opinion that these are some sort of tracking devices.
Yeah, or monitoring
devices, whatever, tracking devices, monitoring devices, whatever. I think if you have one, there's a good chance you probably were abducted. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I don't really know, because like I said, I'm not a big UFO person. I don't really know the whole, but I can tell you that does seem to be the case. And with these particular people, I think that is what happened. She began to have headaches. Now, this BB thing, she went to see the school nurse. They sent her home because her nose was bleeding really bad. And then first she went to the doctor, and then she went home for the day, whatever. And the parents took the BB, and that was the end of it. She did claim that she had a couple more incidents with UFOs throughout her life, and that she did have missing time on 2 other occasions. That's all that was pretty much told to me by her. She didn't really go into a lot of detail about it because it made her very, very upset. So I didn't keep prompting her to give me the story, because it wasn't, And she was boring too. I was like, yeah, whatever. But I'm just kidding. She was though. And so I was like, man, this is a horrifying ordeal when these people go through this. Now, I was working at a place called Vignette years ago. It's not there anymore. And me and Scorpion worked with a lady who, like I've told on a previous episode about her abduction experiences, in particular with reptilians that were quite aggressive and did many horrible things. But that is a different episode. I believe that one's called... I want to say reptilian alien abductions, but I'm not for sure that's correct, what the show is called. But it's one of ours in the archives. You can go back and look at it on YouTube or whichever platform you choose to look at it on.
Yeah.
Now, here's what happened to me recently. Me and Nellie, we were out on the job site in Round Rock. Okay, and it's kind of a weird area out there. I had recently a woman from our show hit me up about going and doing some dogman research out there because her sister-in-law is having what she thinks are dogman experiences. And it is a creepy place. And when we've worked out there, we've heard some really odd sounds. We've heard a humming sound, a buzzing sound, back when there was no electricity on the property, and we walked it. Remember, honey?
Mm-hmm.
And we found what?
Nothing.
This happened, like I said, back in October. We were on post, and I saw something in the sky. Nellie was digging around in the cooler for something, and it looked like a silver ball in the sky in the southwest. No, I'm sorry, southeast of Round Rock. And it looked like it was off in the distance, and it was silver, and it was just like a ball. And then it just like blinked out. And it happened really quick. And I don't know how long it was visible, how long it was up there, because I just looked up and I saw it, and then it blinked out. And I told Nellie about it. I don't know what it was.
She didn't see it?
She didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
No. And now the other time I saw it was recently back in like December. I think it was December or January. It was either late December or early January, something like that. It was on the trip when we were coming back from San Antonio from hanging out with Ken Gerhardt.
Which was fun.
Yeah, which was fun. But we were coming back from that museum gala thing that they had, and we took the back roads in New Braunfels on the river road, they call it. And as we were getting right up to the Devil's Backbone, coming down off of Purgatory Road, y'all were all asleep. Everybody was asleep. Nellie was asleep in the front seat. You and Anthony were asleep in the back. Y'all were both passed out. And it was in the middle of the day, about 5:30 in the afternoon. And I look up, and there again, in the same southeast, whatever, as I was turning right, I saw it to my right up in the sky, and it was a ball, a silver ball, once again. And it looked like the sky. This time, there was a little more like the sky just opened up, and it appeared, and then it just disappeared again.
I think I remember this because I don't think I was asleep yet. I think I was dozing off. Mm-hmm. And you said something, but then you looked around and you were like, everyone was asleep. And I was like, I didn't say anything because I was falling asleep. But I was like, yeah, I mean, that's weird that you saw it twice, like it's following you or something.
Yeah, well, and I saw it again on 14/31 this was, what day was this, honey? Early February. I don't know when this show's going to air, so I'm going to say this was in early February.
Oh, so just recently.
Just recently.
For us, just recently.
Yeah, we were coming back from the property, a property that we're buying. We were coming back from it, and we were looking at the property, and when we were driving up, going in almost into Cedar Park, I looked to the southeast once again, and it was right there, and I pointed at it, and I was frantic, and I told Nellie, I said, look, there it is. There's that silver ball. And when she went to look, she was looking, and it disappeared, like blinked while she was looking, and I don't know how she didn't see it, but she didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's hard to find unless you know exactly what you're looking for. You know, and if you're looking, you know, just especially since like if you're just pointing to the sky, basically, because
and it was so small. It's so small up there. It seems like it's really far away when I see it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's happened 3 times now. I mean, it happened in October, and then it happened twice recently. So I don't know what that is. I guess that could be a UFO. That's the first time in my life I've ever seen anything that I couldn't identify in the sky. But I just wanted to talk about that real quick because when I saw it in October, I just thought, maybe it was a reflection of something. But then when I saw it again in early January, then again in early February.
Yeah, then it's like, no, then there's definitely something because, you know, once is like shame on you, but twice, however the saying goes.
Yeah.
3 times, you're like, that's definitely something. You know,
fooled can't be fooled again.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what that was. I just can't. I'm not gonna. I don't, like I said, when I see weird things, I don't immediately say, yeah, I saw a Bigfoot. Yeah, I saw a UFO. So I'm not going to sit up here and say that I saw an alien craft or whatever because I don't know what it was. If anybody can give me their suggestions, I'm open to it because I don't know what that was. Nothing came down and harassed me. I didn't get abducted and nothing was coming after me or anything like that. I didn't get something stuck up my nose or anything else. I mean, as far as you know. As far as I know, no. Yeah. But it was a silver ball in the sky as far as I could tell. So I don't know. And then Nellie was with me on every occasion.
Okay, so obviously, since she's with you every time, it's her fault.
Probably, pretty much. I blame her.
Yeah, I mean, it's not following you; it's following her.
Pretty much.
And you're
don't say that.
Well,
no, I don't want anything like that.
How do you explain the creepy UFO every time I'm with you? I haven't seen it when I'm driving around with anybody else or by myself.
Hey, and I just want to point out, way to go, Nels, because
Not
of
Nels,
you.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep calling you that because I know you don't like it. Because of you, he's gonna get associated with this thing too. So
thank you. I'm gonna be abducted because of you. That's great, folks. When I disappear, you know what happened. The Martians came because way to go. We're just playing. Yeah, it's not your fault that we're all gonna be abducted. So anyways. Now, oddly enough, in that area that we were at, by the lake, on that side of the lake, there have been many UFO flaps that have happened like over different periods of time. But then they'll come and then they'll go, and then you'll get stories about Bigfoot in those areas too, by the river where we were at, and then by the lake. Both times they were by bodies of water. Now, the one out in Round Rock, the only stories I've gotten in that area are Dogman type activity, and then of course the UFOs. Like there have been people that saw, there like two ladies in Hutto that saw a UFO, and so there is a connection. I think that in some of these areas that these Bigfoot, I have heard of people claiming that Sasquatch gets abducted by the craft just as humans do. Do I believe that that's what's happening? I don't know.
It's a possibility.
But a possibility?
I mean, if it's a creature that's on here, why would you not want to study it? If they're coming here to study us humans, you'd want to look at that thing too.
Well, yeah. And I mean, when Lance Trickler were talking about Bigfoot and Dogman, and then we talked about the Dulce base and all that, there were supposedly people that have been in those bases have said that there are Dogman and Bigfoot type creatures in cages. And this place is run and manned by reptilians. I mean, that sounds like I'm a crazy person up here talking about this, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you're tuned into the show and you've listened up to this point, then obviously you're on board with what we're talking about.
You understand what we're saying.
And I understand this too. I had never claimed to have seen a UFO, and I still don't know what that was I saw. I'm not going to go, I saw an alien craft, like I said. But I've never seen Bigfoot either. But I was at a party as a kid with a bunch of kids that claimed they saw a Bigfoot, but I didn't see it. I have had a lot of weird stuff happen to me in my life, though. I got to admit that, and there's no way around it. Or otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this show. I'm not a person that's just interested in it just to be interested in it. It's because I've had a lot of weird stuff happen. Probably the weirdest, of course, was seeing the Dogman creature, the werewolf-looking creature. Do I think it got abducted and it came from a craft? No. Do I think that, I have been in contact with these aliens? No, or whatever they are. Because I saw something in the sky at a distance doesn't mean that I believe that it's an alien craft.
Yeah, I mean, as far as you just saw something real quick 3 times, which is very weird. Mm-hmm. But just to, point it out as an alien craft is a bit.
Yeah, it's a stretch. And then, the thing with the BB thing, I don't know what that was. And it's also possible that maybe it was just a BB. It was just an oversized buckshot BB or something. That I'm totally trying to be super pragmatic here, but like say just somehow the BB.
Yeah. BBs don't follow you.
Yeah, they don't, and then they don't move around when you try to touch them and everything else.
Yeah, that's the weird part. That's the only thing that would make me say like, well, no, that's not. I don't believe it is a BB because it wouldn't be reactive towards movement like that or like people, you know?
Which actually comes to one of my personal theories about UFOs is I think that the ships themselves are artificial intelligence, if not their own entity of some sort.
Yeah, like biological robots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's been speculated about the Greys, that they're biological robots, kind of like mercenaries that work for different alien species, like the mantis species that we've heard about, and then the reptilians that we've heard about. And we're going to get into that on some other shows eventually, too, because we've gotten a lot of stories about stuff like that. Touching on the Bigfoot aspect of it, now, there was a story that I got, a guy who had claimed that he had been abducted several times in his life. He was a divorcee. Oddly enough, it's weird. He claims he doesn't believe in ghosts. Like when we talked on the phone, he was like, I don't believe in ghosts. But he believes in aliens because he's been abducted. But he was going through a divorce. And I know you know this story, Nelly. And Tony, I don't think you've ever heard this one, but Nelly has. And so this guy sends us a story. And when him and his wife were going through a divorce, it was up in Montana. Yeah. And so he ended up going and sleeping on the side of the road at a roadside stop or whatever, rest stop, a very desolate area on a very desolate stretch of highway. His big fear was being abducted because it had happened to him throughout his life. And so he was so distraught. And, you know, when you go through a traumatic thing like a divorce or something, you know, he was very distraught. And so he went and he slept on the side of the road. He wakes up because he felt like there was a light shining on his face, and he wakes up. And when he does, the light that he thought that had woke him up wasn't there, but there was a creature standing in the passenger window looking in at him. And because the way he was parked almost to where this creature was so large, it wouldn't have had room to go to the driver's side. Because the way he turned his vehicle up against the bench almost to where there wouldn't be there was room enough for him to get out of his vehicle. But this creature was so large, he said it was about 8-9 feet tall, and it was probably 600-700 pounds. And he said that it was a humongous creature with a pointy head that looked like a Bigfoot, like a quintessential Sasquatch, and that it was slapping the glass with its hands, and that he was staring right at it, and it was staring at him, and that it was moving its mouth almost like it was trying to talk. And he said that he had never seen one of these creatures before. He had only seen 2 different types of alien type creatures that he had been abducted by, supposedly, from what he told me. And so he sees this thing standing on the side of his vehicle, and then it's trying to open the door, trying to get him out of the vehicle. So he starts the vehicle up, and he burns off. And this thing just goes back into the woods or whatever. As far as he could see, he saw it in the rearview mirror, just walking around the other side of the park bench and leaving. That's one story. Now there are other stories I've gotten of people like seeing Bigfoot, you know, in the areas where there have been UFOs sighted. Mm-hmm. What the connection is, I don't really know. Other than what people have told me, there are people that have claimed. I think Albert Rosales. I know he's wrote books about humanoids and humanoid encounters. We're going to try and get him on the show soon. And he can go into some detail about some weird, humanoid encounters. I know that I read a book about a guy that worked for the government and his daughter having claimed to have seen these Bigfoot type creatures wearing almost what looked like astronaut gear without the helmet. Mm-hmm. And that her dad, when she got older, he told her that those are not friendly. They are not good. They're the enemy of mankind. This is what he told her. And it was in a book I read. I can't remember the name of it. I can look it up and post it in the Paranormal Round Table group or whatever. But that they did fly craft, these Bigfoot looking creatures, and that they were of an extraterrestrial origin, and that they were violent and aggressive, and that they would come to Earth disrobe, so to speak, and then go roaming through the woods and being their natural selves.
So like a vacation real quick.
Pretty
Just
much.
to get
And
away.
that's what people are seeing when they see the Bigfoot. But they did, according to this guy, from what I was researching or whatever, these creatures or whatever, they're from another world. Now, I did get a story from somebody who kind of touched on that, and it wasn't completely that, like, it wasn't like that same exact whatever, but it was in the same thread. There was a woman that claimed that these Bigfoot communicate with her telepathically, and that there are two different kinds. There are the kind that are from here, that live on Earth, but they are all seeded here from another planet. They all came from another place, another dimension, or another planet, whatever. And she claims that she talked to them telepathically. She lives up in Oregon, and she claims that now I think she said she's living in Salem. But she said that when she was living in different areas of Washington and Oregon, that the same Bigfoot would find her, and that they are extraterrestrial in nature, and that these are highly intelligent and telepathic beings, but they do come back and abduct and talk with and commune with the Bigfoots that have been here for, a couple thousand years, that they were put here by an alien species as a colony, that they were literally seeded here. And that they, over time, the colony collapsed and they lost their technology, but not their abilities, not their telepathic abilities. Most of them still have that. And when they commune with these extraterrestrial Bigfoot that are still from their home world, that they can actually, this is what she said. Okay, this isn't my belief. This isn't I don't know what to believe of this, but she said that they were able to, they heighten their abilities when they commune with their extraterrestrial brethren. Pretty much the same species, except one is rogue and gone feral from a collapsed colony from 2,000, 3,000 years ago, whatever. And these aliens, they come down and they abduct them. Now, sometimes they employ the Greys to do that, to abduct these beings, and then they take them up to a mothership where these Bigfoot are seen.
Perhaps that's what they're looking for, though. Perhaps that's why they're abducting people on these Bigfoot, because they're looking for a certain DNA strand that has been mixed with who knows what.
I mean,
that's what
anything's possible. I just know that I've heard stories now. There was another one that I heard from someone that told me a long time ago that his mother, this was a guy that I went to college with briefly, that he told me that his mother was an abductee, and that she claimed when she was on a ship at one time that she saw a Bigfoot type creature wearing a blue suit with a weird patch on its left side that looked like stars.
It was Beast from X-Men.
Well, there you go. Oh, okay. So he lied. Way to go, Patrick. You lied to me. You lied to me. You know what? You owe me lunch. I haven't seen you in 20 years, 30 years, but you owe me lunch. So anyways, he did tell me that his mother believed wholeheartedly that the Bigfoot were from another world because she saw one that looked just like a Sasquatch, like Patterson Gimlin Sasquatch. So who's to say what there is, what is and what isn't? We started off the episode, of course, just talking about the UFO, whatever, and then we kind of got off into the Bigfoot, whatever. But there is some sort of connection there, and as far as the theory that was given to me as truth, that they were from another planet and that they were seeded here, whatever, that will touch off all kinds of arguments, because there's going to be people in the Bigfoot community that are like, oh, we can't be taken seriously if we're connected to UFOs. And the UFO people are going to be like, we can't be taken seriously if people are talking about Bigfoot. Because the problem is with all these different aspects of the paranormal is that everyone is closed off from each other.
Yeah, it's rare to find people, or it's not rare, but it's hard to find people like us who
open to all
of it, because
I think it's all big pieces of the same puzzle.
I just have the belief of like, I don't know. So for me to say one thing is one way or the other is just very ignorant and very brash and very.
I think it's ignorant. It's ignorant.
Yeah, it's like it's just incorrect. Because then if I get proven wrong, then I'm gonna be looking the one with the egg on my face because I'm the one who was so adamant about it being a certain way.
That's right.
And it not being that way. And it's like, I just, by leaving myself open and having a belief that, like, any of these things are possible, when it does happen, then it just, like, it doesn't take away from the amazement, but it doesn't make me seem like, I was incorrect.
And then if you are proven incorrect when you get shamed, then you got to beat it. Just beat it.
Shame. Yeah, I don't want to have to pull a...
Yeah, because it is a thriller, to hear all...
Jeez.
Okay.
That's bad.
All right, enough with the, come on. Didn't he look like kind of like an alien in the end? I mean, the point though, let's.
The point was like that joke was very,
El hee. It's the El hee.
Yeah, it was a smooth criminal move there.
Well, Annie, are you okay? I mean, that's the thing. Can we call you Annie, Nelly?
Oh man.
So, anyways, the point being that, these things, like I said, I don't know that Bigfoot are aliens. I don't know that that is the correct answer. I don't know what the correct answer is. I think Bigfoot, kind of like the whole reptilian thing. It's just like the Dogman thing. I think there's all of the above. I think the reptilians, there are some that were from here, possibly. Mm-hmm. Sauropod, dinosaurs, whatever you want to call them. And then they were evolved into reptile-type creatures. Same thing with Dogman, maybe, just maybe. I don't know. Bigfoot, maybe there's some that are from here. There's different species that look like the orang pendek. They all look different, you know what I mean? The Yeti. And then there might be some that are from another planet. Mm-hmm. And maybe there was a coalition of alien life that came and seeded these different types of beings or whatever. Now, that's not to toss God out of the equation. People are always like, you don't believe in God if you believe in that. Well,
that's not true.
That's not true because God created all of us. Now, God is the master. He created everything.
You're dealing with the
I don't believe in a separation between religion and science. I believe that, how do you know that what you're seeing is not how God created it? Like you're just looking at the steps.
Mm-hmm. Well, he created man in his image, but these other alien species may have seeded these other alien species in their image, and then they just became indigenous, whereas they're technically not from this world, but they're an invasive species technically, but they are part of it now, just like. But then again, that could be like the Skeksis on Thra, and Dark Crystal. They don't belong, they don't belong there. That's why they're causing havoc. But I think that there is possibly a connection there between aliens and Bigfoot. I mean, I don't know that I 100% subscribe to any one theory, or if I subscribe to all the theories. All I'm doing is giving you the information, and so that we can postulate on it. That's it. And now, Nelly, if you would like to, did you want to talk about the other story?
Well, there's there's so many different stories about lights in the sky. Oh,
that's a whole nother ball of wax. But what other implant stories? Do you have any more?
There's one more. This one's like, it's bothersome to hear it. It's.
Oh, please tell us. We like bothersome. We want people not to be able to sleep.
Yeah, we prefer it if you are.
We don't really care, folks. If you don't sleep, it doesn't bother us. Yeah?
Well, this person, we'll give them a name, Mike, I guess.
Once again, Mike.
I don't know what.
Wasn't Mike the one on the other episode that was playing with the devil or whatever?
Oh, yeah, let's see. I can't think of names off the top of my head. I keep looking over there and seeing the Mike, so I keep saying Mike.
Well, just okay. Mike is just as good a name as any. Let's just go with Mike, even though it sounds childish.
So we're going to just call him Frog. No,
the Frog here.
This person was them and their coworker just got off work. They were going to go to his house and play video games.
Netflix and chill. Oh, no.
Play video games, and he was up there doing hooking up the machine, and his coworker was laying on the couch, and she had told him that she thought a bug was in her pants. So strange.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
she could have just said, "Hey, I want to do this." She didn't have to make up the story.
Goodness,
yeah, very excuses.
This is a serious story because it's really scary.
Okay.
So she was like, well, she just was like, okay, he's not facing her, so who cares? So she just went to like just put her hand down her pants to, like try to find the bug and get rid of it. And when she reached down, she felt the stuff moving, so she grabbed it, and it was like, and she went to pull, and she felt extreme pain in 3 spots of her leg, and it was like 3 wires, and they were moving around her hand and poking her, and she was like, "What the heck is that?" Like, and she went to pull it, and it hurt her skin, like it was attached to her skin. So she said that she let go, and she jumped up, and she goes, "Excuse me." And she ran to the restroom. She took her pants off, and she was looking, and there was nothing in her pants, and nothing anywhere. And that she was just really freaked out because she said that she could feel them crawling, like moving around her leg. So she thought it was a bug, but when she grabbed it, it was 3 living wires that she said obviously retreated back into her body. So she always assumed that she must have been abducted at a time that she didn't remember, and that
there was no wounds anywhere.
No, she was very adamant that there was nothing.
I would have kept pulling if it was me personally. I mean, that's very...
Yeah, that's what I asked, and Mike had asked her, and she said that it was just a reaction because she figured it was a bug that was like biting her maybe, or she didn't know, so she just let it go and ran to the bathroom to check, and there was absolutely nothing there. And she remembers them wrapping around her hand, the 3 wires wrapping around her hand, poking at her hand as she's trying to pull, and then just steadily holding it there for a few seconds and feeling them trying to pull away from her hand and moving around her hand. So there were living implants.
Did it ever happen again, or was it just the one time with Mike?
This was his coworker that it happened to.
He told this was from Mike's story.
Mm-hmm. It was his coworker that it happened to.
Oh, so she told Mike.
Mm-hmm. No, she was there with him. They were playing.
But he wouldn't know about it unless she told him, right?
Well, yeah, because he said that she came out of the bathroom and she was like
Mike
really upset.
Mike is the one that told you the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she told Mike that story.
Mm-hmm. Like, well, he was there. She came out of the bathroom. She was upset.
And she told him what happened.
Mm-hmm, right then and there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then but he never asked if it happened ever again, right? Or he wouldn't.
I guess he didn't know.
He wouldn't know. Yeah, but like I said, I even if it was a bug or something, I feel like letting it go is not the wisest move.
No,
I would want to see what the heck it is, and then like I would just like run to the bathroom with my hand in my pants, just hold on to this thing. As weird as it would look, it's better than just letting it go and not knowing where it goes.
Then you keep pulling and it just rips your femoral artery right out of your leg. Ah! Way to go! It was really just.
I get to see what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, at least now it was just a vein.
He did say that she had some weird thoughts about it. Like she had, later on, because they worked together, and they had discussed it before, and she had expressed that she thought if she would have been able to remove them from her body, that she may have died from it. That she had like very odd thoughts about these things, like. That she thought maybe they were implanted in her to keep her alive, or she just had some interesting thoughts, personal thoughts on the implants.
Stockholm, what is the syndrome where like you get abducted and you start caring about your captives?
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah,
what does it have to do with that?
Well, it's the same thing. It's like this thing is taking her thing.
It's like a parasite, but you're thinking that you need it to stay alive.
Yeah. It's like a parasite that
I don't know. He just said that she had some strange ideas about it. I think that maybe she was just searching for a coping mechanism, because that's got to be alarming. That's got to be.
I would rather believe that it's helping me than it's something intrusive in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather believe like, oh, I need this instead, and it's actually helpful.
Yeah.
I guess that. The other question I have is like, you personally, what are your thoughts, Nelly, on the aliens, the Bigfoot theory that I commented on earlier? Like, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that they all stem from the same head, all of them. It's like an octopus, but instead of 8 legs, there's many more, and then those legs have legs.
And what is it? What is that?
They all stem from the Nephilim. the fallen angels. Well, some of them stem from the fallen angels. A lot of people forget about the ones that left heaven.
Yeah, because that's two different
the rebellious
things.
ones.
The rebellious angels is Lucifer and
so
his
they,
minions.
I believe, created a lot of things themselves.
So they're two different groups.
Mm-hmm.
The fallen are the 200 watchers, right?
They made the Nephilim, yes.
They made the Nephilim, which would be in the Book of Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then the rebellious angels are the ones that rebelled and were kicked out.
Because things survived after the flood. There's a lot of evidence.
Well, there's a lot of archaeological evidence that the flood was not completely worldwide. I mean, that people argue that all the time.
Well, the giants did survive because there's the famous, if you're into, giants as a subject, it's very well known in that community about the red-headed giants that do live in California, that the Indians were afraid of because they were eating them. And they lived in the mountains, in caves. So they survived, and they were there.
And they all had, pretty much all the Native Americans have stories and legends of giants. Mm-hmm. It's weird. I mean,
there's giants in every history.
Every history, there's giants.
Well,
the Persians,
like the
Vikings.
Indians, when they raise their hand, and everybody makes that, the howl.
Yeah, the 5 fingers.
Is
to check to see if they have a 6th finger. Yeah, to know if you're part of that bloodline or not. And that was one thing that me and D. Doss covered in that really super long 5.5-hour interview that we did, where we talked about the on his show. We talked about the Nephilim corrupting the DNA, and the reason in the Old Testament that it says so and so begat so and so and so and begat so and so is to show you that the lineage and bloodline of Christ was pure human. He was not Nephilim tainted. Because that they were, and then of course they're the books. So we're getting off into the Nephilim, but I mean, the books. We need to do a show about the Nephilim just in general. What are the book of Book of Giants? It's called the Book of Giants.
Mm-hmm. They found that it's not complete, but it is really readable.
And it talks about how the giants had dreams, telling them that they were going to be destroyed.
The angels.
Yeah, mm-hmm. that they were
going to watch their children die.
And it's disturbing as it is, and it seems almost sad, but you got to realize these things were evil. I mean, they were horrible, and human race was not going to survive with these coexisting with these creatures.
They were devouring them. They were so corrupt.
Mm-hmm. They were killing and eating people.
But they weren't big, dumb, stupid giants.
No,
they were very, very intelligent.
What? There's no fee, fi, fo, fum in this hole?
That's the funny thing. They say fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. It's because they can smell your DNA.
Yeah, they can smell your bloodline.
And then that's another reason why I think that all these, like Bigfoot and stuff is connected to all that, because I think, and it's, Dogman or Bigfoot, someone will run into them and then they'll run into them again because they've got a scent for your particular DNA and they will follow you home. Well, the Bigfoot as the one I've heard of. Following you home.
And what is that particular?
I haven't delved too far into that. My own thought is like I said, is they're searching for a specific DNA because it's a corruption of the DNA, and certain fallen angels, certain rebellious angels have certain DNA strands, and they're looking for a specific one. I have heard that they're looking for Nimrod's bloodline, but that's all I've heard on that, and I haven't delved too far into that.
We need to do a show and just talk about that. Just we talked about it a little bit here, but we could really get into it. And get D. Doss on here maybe, and talk about it. But folks, that's all the time we're gonna take up of yours tonight with our crazy stories and theories and all this ridiculous stuff that Nellie's popping out. I'm just kidding. I mean, I love you, and it's great that you're on the show and you're speaking what you have to talk about. Unfortunately, Mushu had to be here too, but we'll see what happens.
I forgot I was here too, so don't remind me.
All right, guys.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
From Dreamland, whatever spaceship, whatever Bigfoot you're hanging out with, whatever Dogman's chasing you,
whatever giant tummy you're in.
Thanks for tuning in. Good night.